2 years ago, there was a new group called the Traveling Wilburys. The group may have been new, but the folks in it were very familiar. George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, and Roy Orbison. Well, today the group is minus the talents of Orbison, but they're still making music. Their latest is Volume 3. And as Today music correspondent Rona Elliot tells us, they're still making good music.
Yep, they are, Deb. The Wilburys were diminished by the death of Roy Orbison, but they've gone ahead and put out a new album. As their first album demonstrated, these guys are all close friends who have put their individual stardom aside to just have some fun together in the recording studio. And that's what comes through in their music.
Everybody got somebody to lean on.
And that's just what this quartet of superstars continues to give one another. That and the musical versatility of having 4 rhythm guitars and absolutely no computerized sound. This no preservatives added Wilburys album will take you back to the early roots of rock and roll.
Oh, the sweet smell of success, handle me with care.
When you're being Wilburys, is it different than being Tom, Jeff, and George in your respective solo work, and Bob, who's not here?
Much different, yeah.
What's the difference?
No responsibility, or less responsibility, and for at least 4 times. Well, I think it's even more than 4 times the amount of energy and input.
You know, you don't have to, like, labour over anything, because if you get stuck, if any of us get stuck, there's all the rest of us to come up with an idea.
And you never know what each piece of music, you don't really know what it's going to be until it's actually forming in front of you. And that's a lot of the excitement of it for me.
To these interviews.
He's lucky.
He's allergic to powder.
He's lucky Wilbury.
Yeah, right, he's lucky. He gets not to do the interviews.
Yeah, don't it make you wanna twist and shout?
Something about Volume 1 really struck a nerve with people. What do you think was the nerve that was struck?
I think people got stuck in a concept of what the record business is, whereas with the Wilburys, it was just something that was very flippant, and I think that come across, just the playfulness, or just the, you know, we don't really give a damn kind of attitude.
Lift your other foot up, fall on your ass, get back up, put your teeth in the glass. Ain't never been nothing quite like this. It's a magical thing called the Wilbury twist.
Is that the Wilbury twist, George?
Part of it.
Whoever dreamt in rock and roll when you mostly sing about raging teenage hormones, that we would be singing about putting your teeth in a glass?
Well, just a lot of people who started out in the 50s or the 60s have just grown older. It was just coincidence we happened to be young in the 60s, but it's the only thing we do, really.
But as lighthearted as they seem now, the guys still feel the loss of their best pal and fellow Wilbury, Roy Orbison. Orbison died in December 1988, just as their first album climbed to the top of the charts.
I'm so tired of being lonely. I still have some love to give.
Let's talk about Roy for a minute. When Roy died, did you guys think about how you wanted to proceed with the band?
We never considered Roy replaceable. We never looked for a replacement.
When it came to the time when somebody said, let's do another one, you know, Roy had been missing for 2 years, so, you know, we just did it without him.
And it just felt natural to go ahead with the 4 of us.
What are the differences, in your opinion, between this and the first record in terms of the tone and the quality and sort of where you were aiming with it?
It's like the most basic rock and roll sound.
Yeah, and getting away from technology and stuff. So everything that was used was just microphones and guitars and pianos, which was a lot of fun, you know, because there's only so much you can do with them And you can't put any gadgets on because we made the rules.
This album sounded like it was a bunch of guys who got down, had a blast, were carousing, were drinking buddies. Is that what this album really is all about? Even more so?
Drinking Dos Equis, wasn't it? Buddies.
No, were you carousing as much as it sounds like?
No, we had fun. We worked hard. I mean, we do tend to work very hard, but it's fun work. You know, we just all get guitars and we say, what about this? Ding, 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 and then we end up with a tune, basically.
Didn't you think that the chemistry was really there, though, that the second you sat down together, all this weirdness would erupt again?
Well, we hoped it would.
Turn the lights down low.
You'll never know when your friends have gone. It could be years before you missed. Everybody's trying to do the Wilbury twist.
The Wilbury twist, Rona, thanks.